Hi everyone, welcome to this startup workshop web series dedicated to early stage startups. My name is Milan Vukas and I am a startup mentor. I just want to thank you for dropping by and for actually watching this video. Now, this video is dedicated really to early stage startups because starting a new company can be overwhelming if you don't know where to start. And even if you are an entrepreneurial rock star, sometimes a helping advice or a good trick can be for major advantage for early stage entrepreneurs. So that's why this startup workshop web series will help you tackle problems as an early stage entrepreneur. So lean back and enjoy the show and let's go. And we're going to be talking today about the so-called business model canvas. Now, as I told you, my name is Milan Vukas, and I am a startup mentor. And what does a startup mentor do? I assist on a day-to-day basis entrepreneurs in reaching their next level. Now, what does this mean? I help basically with my mentoring programs that are flexible and non-time restricted. Together with early-stage entrepreneurs, I work on fundamental questions such as finding the right business model, working on the sales cycle, or simply preparing startups for funding and grants. And that's why my mentoring programs prepares early-stage entrepreneurs for today and tomorrow by learning the skills necessary to apply for starting a business. Now, I am an entrepreneur myself. I have co-founded 2 companies until today. The first company is called Up Production. It is an event and media production company located in Cologne, Germany. And the second company that I just founded last year is called PitchStack. And here you can find some of the partners where I was featured and recommended by. Okay, so let's dive into this topic and let's speak about the business model canvas. And this workshop will be about how to design and test business models. Now, the business model canvas is really from major importance for early stage startups because it simply pushes you in 9 building blocks to answer fundamental early stage entrepreneur questions which you have to have an answer for. Now, the starting point of any good discussion, meeting, or workshop on business model innovation should be a shared understanding of what a business model actually is. And this will be our first question that we will be tackling in just a minute. Let me just walk you through the agenda for this video. We're going to be first talking about the concept. So what is a business model and why is it so difficult to find a common term that defines it? The second part, we're going to be talking about the tools, and this is the business model canvas, and how you can use the canvas as an early stage entrepreneur to really understand your business model. And then last but not least, we will be talking about the process and how exactly you should be using the business model canvas to actually find the right business model for your business. So let's dive actually right into our first part of this video. And this is going to be the question, or we're going to be talking about the concept about what exactly is a business model. So let's talk about the facts. Very simple question that you have to always ask yourself if you're in a group or if you're in a workshop. We have to define the clear first question: what is a business model? Now, the problem here is that unfortunately there is no simple answer to it. Everyone I ask, from people in Berlin to Washington to Toronto, everyone will give you a different answer to this simple question. Why? Well, because simply there is no clear definition of what it means. There is one term, but there are different definitions of what everybody thinks a real business model is. For example, some people will be talking about, when they speak about a business plan, they're going to be talking about the strategy behind it. Others will be talking about the channels, or about the profit, or about the pricing, or they will be simply talking about, in their business plan, about a product. So that's why there's no clear definition about what a business plan is. That's why it is very crucial that at the beginning, when you sit down with very smart people in one room, you have to clearly define first and foremost what is a business plan. Now, to be very honest, this is the best definition that I found out there for a business plan. And it says that a business plan describes the rationale of how an organization creates, delivers, and captures value. Now, this is very nice because it's a very nice sentence. However, if you take a closer look at it, it's really, really wishy-washy. And again, we're not really quite sure what a business plan is. Why? What is the rationale of a business plan? Everybody has a different kind of own opinion. What do people mean by creates and what is value? Everybody has a different kind of perspective about these words. What is value? What does create mean? So that's why there is not a clear definition out there. And unfortunately, words are here not enough to describe a business plan. So since words cannot help us, we need a business model concept that everyone understands. And one that basically facilitates descriptions and decisions. We need to start from the same point and talk about the exact same thing. And this is exactly where we are actually heading to. If you take a look at this is what people call the business model canvas. Now, just to go quickly back to our agenda, I gave you now a clear overview about what the concept is and that there is clearly not one common term for the definition of a business model. So let's dive now into exactly what is the business model canvas. This is where I have to introduce you to this young man. This is Alexander Osterwald. He is an entrepreneur and an author, and he is the official creator of the so-called business model canvas that we will be talking today about. Alexander is a great guy. He is very, very passionate about innovation, about entrepreneurship, and what he wanted to create basically is he wanted to give that, what I was just speaking about, he wanted to give everyone a same kind of definition so that when we sit down as entrepreneurs to talk about business model innovation, that everybody has a common kind of theme about how exactly or what exactly we mean by a business model canvas. So that is what Alexander did. So very simply said, and we're going to make it very, very straightforward here, this is the business model canvas. Well, I'm not going to leave you just like that because we're going to be diving right into all of these 9 building blocks, talking about exactly what they mean, which questions you have to ask yourself, and why this business model canvas is so important. Now, let me just briefly walk you through these 9 building blocks, which cover basically the 4 main areas of a business. It covers the customer side, it covers the offering side, it covers the infrastructure and the financial side of your business. So if we walk through it, it always starts on the right-hand side, and this is going to be your customer segments. Then we're going to be talking about the value proposition. Both of these have to link together, as you see, and this is where we were speaking in the last video about what a product market fit is all about. So this is exactly now where the product market fit can be drawn upon in the business model canvas. The third building blocks are the channels. Then we will be talking about the customer relationships, the revenue streams. On the left-hand side, we're going to be talking about the key resources, the key activities for your business. We're going to be talking about key partners. And last but not least, we will be talking about the cost structure. So let's dive exactly into the first building block of the so-called business model canvas. And we're going to be talking here about the customer segments. Now, what are customer segments? Very easily described. Customer segments are the different groups of people or organizations an enterprise aims to reach and serve. Very, very easily described. It's your customer. And as a startup mentor, one of my first questions when I sit down with early stage entrepreneurs is going to be, who are your customers? To whom do you cater your product or your service? And with whom do you deal on a daily basis? Now, why is this so important? Because you have to understand, to reach a product market fit, you have to understand the needs of your customer. Now, there are different types of customer segments. For example, there is the mass market, there is the niche market, there is a segmented market, there is a there is a diversified market, and there is a multi-sided platform. Just to give you a short little overview, the diversified market is basically an organization with a diversified customer business model that serves two unrelated customer segments with very different needs and problems. Just as an example, in 2006, Amazon.com decided to diversify its retail business by selling cloud computing services, and they still had, for example, as well, their books. Okay, so the next building block is the so-called value proposition. Very easily described, the value proposition is the bundle of products and services that create value for your specific customer segment. Very easily described, you have determined now what is your customer, to whom are you catering, what are his problems, and now you want to find out what is basically the product or service that you want to give back to this customer. Now, the important part to understand here is that the business model canvas does not distinguish between products and services. It can be used for both. So if your business is about building an app, or if you are providing consulting services, both of these business models can be built with the business model canvas. Now, let's talk about what are the elements which contribute to customer value creation. And here you have to ask yourself, is the product or the service that you are providing, is it something new? Or is it just a performance improvement? Or is it that you are customizing basically your product or your service to the customer segment that you have? So these are the customer values that you can bring as your value proposition to the customer segment. Now, what are the questions that you have to ask yourself here is, what value do we deliver to the customer, and which one of our customer problems are we helping to solve? Again, here, very important, thinking about the product market fit again, you really have to distinguish and you really have to understand your customer problem so that you can exactly deliver a clear value proposition that is going to help him in his day-to-day life, or that is going to give him some kind of value back. So again, which one of our customer problems are we helping to solve? And to answer this question, you really have to understand what is the main pain of your customer. Now, our next building blocks are channels. And we're talking here about how a company communicates with and reaches its customer segments to deliver a value proposition. So just to map this out, we know now who our customer is, we know which pain we are solving, and we know what our value proposition is, in this case, what our product or our service is. Now the question is, how do we combine these two? How do we bring these two together? And this is where channel comes actually into play. And there are different kind of types of channels. We distinguish between direct channels and indirect channels. Direct channels being your direct sales force, your one-on-one sales calls that you're making, or it could as well be your web sales. Indirect channel types are basically your partner stores. So which partners can I have on board where I can not only sell, but as well distribute my product and my services too. In this case, for example, I can give the example of Fitbit. They have both a direct sales, so they have a web sales, but they do as well have an indirect sales where basically you can buy your Fitbit in a Target or in a Walmart. What are the questions that I have to ask here? The first question that I have to ask is, through which channels do our customer segments want to be reached? And the second question is, how are we reaching them now? So this is our third building block, channels. So our next building block are customer relationships. And customer relationships are basically all of the relationships a company, in this case your company, establishes with specific customer segments. Now there are different kind of customer relationships that a company can have towards its customers. You can, for example, have a personal assistance, meaning that this relationship is based on human interaction. The dedicated personal assistance is basically where you really dedicate your time and your value to one specific individual client. Now, I think that self-service is quite clear. Automated services means that all of your processes that you have and your relationship that you have towards your customer is in some kind of way automated. What is the question that I have to ask in this building block? It's basically, what type of relationship does each of our customer segment expect us to establish and maintain with them? So the next building block is revenue streams. And revenue streams means, or it represents, the cash money generates from each customer segment. What is the cash flow that you have from all of the other 4 building blocks that you see here on the right-hand slide? Basically, it says that how do you generate money? What is your revenue stream? Do you charge for your services? Do you have a specific kind of fee that people have to pay? And there are several ways to generate revenue. You could, for example, have a usage fee. You might have a subscription fee. You might be working with the simple revenue streams model of lending, renting, and leasing. Or you have a licensing fee, and this is going to be your revenue stream. Now, important to mention here, and this is what I always say in my mentoring sessions, is that it is important as well as an early stage entrepreneur to really charge from the first day. You have to make it clear that people, if they want to use your service or if they want to use your product, they have to pay for it. Now, I'm not telling you here to charge a really, really high price, but charge a low price, but at least you are charging something so that people can actually see that there is a value. And when people have to pay for a service or for a product, they get a different kind of sense of it. They really, really want to use it. And when people start paying for it, what's going to happen is they're going to really give you their feedback on it. Because what happens, if they are paying for your service or for your product, they expect to have a good product and a good service. And if it's not good, they will exactly tell you what they don't like about it. And this is what you want. This is what you wanted as an early stage entrepreneur, because basically as an early stage entrepreneur, you want to gather as much as feedback as possible from people. So this is going to as well help you to determine, is your product, is it the right fit for the customer segment that you're having? Now, what are the questions that I have to ask myself in this building block is, for what value are our customers really willing to pay? And this is a very, very crucial question. What is the value that they're giving, and what is the value or the money that the customer really is willing to pay you for that? Now, our next building block is key resources. And key resources are the most important assets required to make a business model work. And there are different kind of key resources that you might have. You might have a physical resource, you might have intellectual or human or even financial resources. Now, for example, if you are a shoemaker, you would rather have physical and human key resources than intellectual and financial. Now, the question that you have to ask yourself here is, what key resources do our value propositions require? So what are the key resources that I have to invest to make my product or to deliver my service? And that is what brings us exactly to the next building block, and those are the key activities. With key activities, we mean here the most important things a company must do to make its business model work. So what are the day-to-day activities? And as you see here on this small little picture, is what is the really hard work that you have to do day by day. Now, there can be, for example, different kind of key activities. Maybe you have a production. Maybe it's about problem solving, or are we talking about a platform or a network that are your key activities that you have to produce? Now, again, if you're a shoemaker, you're rather going to be in the production field here. If you are a consultant, you're rather going to be in the problem solving field. And if you have an app, you will be in the platform or networking fields. What is the key question that I have to ask for this building block about key activities? It's basically, what key activities do our value propositions require? And the next question is, what key activities do our distribution channels require? Building block number 8 is about key partnerships. And when we're speaking about key partnerships is we are speaking exactly about networks of suppliers and partners that make the business model work. Now, there are three motivations for creating partnerships. It's because you want to achieve optimization and the economy of scale. Basically, the most basic form of partnership or buyer-supplier relationship is designed to optimize the allocation of resources and activities. Very easily said again, if we go back to our shoemaker example, you cannot have, or it's not possible as a shoemaker to have all of the resources that you need to produce a shoe. So that's why you have to have specific kind of partners that are going to partner with you to provide you this. Another reason for a partnership might be because you want to reduce the risk and uncertainty in your business, or because you would like to have the acquisition of particular resources. And the acquisition of particular resources and activities means that few companies own all the resources or perform all the activities described by their business model. Rather, and this is where you have to think about key partnerships, you want to extend your own capabilities by relying on other firms to really get these particular resources. Now, a sad aspect is that when I speak to entrepreneurs, a lot of times what they tell me is that they don't really think about this building block because they think that there are no potential partners out there. Now, I guarantee you that for every startup out there, there are partners with whom you can actually partner up and establish a really working and good key partnership. And this brings us to the last building block of the so-called business model canvas, and it is the cost structure. And again, a fun fact, a lot of entrepreneurs don't really do their research on this one. Cost structures are enormously important for your early stage startup because you want to have cost structures that really make it easy for your customer to accept your product at a value that they are willing to pay. What are we actually talking about when we speak about cost structures? It's basically all of the cost incurred to operate a business model. Now, we distinguish between cost-driven and value-driven costs. Cost-driven basically would mean that you focus on minimizing costs whenever possible. Now, value-driven means that some companies are really not interested in the particular cost structure of their company, but they're more interested and they're more focusing their startup on really creating a value. As an early stage entrepreneur, you want to be more cost-driven than you are value-driven. I know that there are tons of entrepreneurs out there who tell me that, yes, we're not charging at this stage because we first want to create a value. We want to give something back to the person. Absolutely true. But you can't be doing this for months. You can do it maybe in your first 1 or 2 months when you establish your company and you want to bring your brand out there. But what you want to achieve is you want to as well charge at some stage as an early stage entrepreneur. You want to get people that they pay you. And again, very importantly, I'm not telling you that you should charge a very high price because that is not realistic. People are not going to pay you for your app $200 because it does not make sense. But they will pay you maybe 50 cents or 99 cents to try it out if you are really solving a key problem that they have. And this is, again, if you have hit the holy grail of entrepreneurship, if you have hit that product market fit. So what are the most important questions I have to ask myself is, what are the most important costs in our business model? And which key resources are most expensive? Now, if we bring all of these 9 building blocks together, this is what I showed you earlier. This is the so-called business model canvas, and we start again on the right-hand side, customer segment, value proposition, channels, customer relationships, revenue streams. Then you go to the left-hand side, key resources, key activities, key partners, and the cost structures. Now, from theory to practice, we're going to go away from that good-looking 3D model that you just saw, and we're going to go to the real paper model that you usually use when you do this. The 9 business model building blocks that I've just presented form all together the basis for a handy tool which we call the business model canvas, and which you can see here on the right hand side. This is what you get. This is what you print out in a very, very big document, and then you just want to work with post-it notes on it and try to answer all of these questions as best as you can. That is what happens in the practice now, and that is what you should be doing now. Get the paper model printed out, post it somewhere on your wall, get your entire team collected, get those post-it notes out there, and then really start answering the 9 building blocks and try to answer each question as best as you can. Now, before you start actually printing out and getting all of those post-it notes and everything on your wall, I just want to give you 2 fun facts you really need to know about the business model canvas. Now, these 2 fun facts you should really keep in mind when doing the business model canvas. So fun fact number 1, just as our brain has a left-hand side and a right-hand side, the left brain side being the logical part and the right brain side being the emotional part, so does the business model have a left side and a right side. If you really cut in the middle of your value proposition, everything what is on the right hand side is the value that you are creating. It's the value that you are creating with your product, the value that you're creating with your service, and everything what's in between. The left-hand side is the efficiency side. Here we're talking about how can we make our business even more efficient? How can we bring in more key partners? How can we improve our key resources to make the business more efficient? So fun fact number 2, the business model will not find you. Okay, so keep this in mind. The business model will not find you. You have to find the right business model. This means that you might go through 100 different kind of business model innovation plans that you are going to build on your wall until you really find that one business model that is really working for you. And yes, this takes time. So that's why you really have to go out there. You have to do the business model canvas. You have to fill out all of the 9 building blocks. You have to test it. Test it outside. Does it work or not? If it's not working, find the problem that is not working and try to fix it by really bringing in new kind of ideas. And yes, it might take up to 20 business model canvases that you have to really go through until you find that one that suits you best. And if you have it, you have found the best business model for your idea. Now, if we go one step back and we take a look at our agenda, you're going to see that we have achieved quite a lot until now. We spoke about the concept and what exactly a business model is. We walked together through the 9 building blocks of the so-called business model canvas. And now I want to talk to you about the process. And I want to give you 2 examples about how such a business model canvas could look like for these 2 examples. For example number 1, I want to introduce to you Kelly. Kelly has her own lemonade stand, and we will be talking about how the business model canvas can be developed for her business. In example number 2, we're going to take a look how such a business model canvas can look like for a tech company like Skype. To just make this clear, example number 1 is going to be for services. Example number 2 is going to be for a product. So 1, rather for a consultant. 2, rather for that app builder or for a tech startup. So let's dive into Kelly's lemonade stand business model canvas that she might have. And we're going to start obviously again on the right-hand side. We're going to be speaking about the customer segments. Her customers are park visitors. Her value that she is giving, so her value proposition, are a cold, tasty lemonade on the go. The channels that she's going to deliver this is she's going to have her booth sale, and she does as well sell her cold, tasty lemonade on the go to park visitors via her homepage. Kelly's customer relationship is really personal because she has to sell her cold, tasty lemonade, which is the value proposition in this case, really in a personal relationship to the park visitors. Now, her revenue streams are going to be the lemonade sales that she makes and the tips that she might get from her customer segment, in this case, the park visitors. The key resources, obviously, she needs to make cool, tasty lemonade. So that's why she needs her ingredients. She's going to need people who are going to sell this. So she will need a sales team, and she needs some money and some resources to actually build a booth. The key activities, well, she's going to be making a lemonade. She's going to be having some marketing, and she needs to sell it. What are her key partners? Well, she could partner up with local cities to actually have an exclusive right to sell her cold, tasty lemonade. What is her value proposition to the customer segment, in this case, the park visitors? Cost structure, she has to pay salaries to the salespeople, and there might be as well a commission on this. She does as well have to spend some money on the flyers and on the equipment. So if you take this as a whole, this would be Kelly's lemonade stand business model canvas. So let's take a look at the second example, and we're going to be talking here about the business model canvas of Skype. Again, we're going to start with the customer segment on the right-hand side. The customer segment for Skype are basically web users globally. It's people who want to do actually phone calls. What's the value proposition that Skype is giving? It's the free internet and a video calling service that they have. Plus, they are as well offering these cheap calls to phones, what Skype labels as Skype out. The channels that they're going to deliver the value proposition to the customer segment is going to be via their website. It's going to be via Skype.com, and it's going to be via headset partnerships, which they might have. Now, the customer relationships are mass customized, meaning that Skype wants to aim to deliver its value proposition to the mass public. The revenue streams, well, they have a freemium model on one side of the business. They're going to have some revenue streams from the hardware sales, and obviously they have the revenue streams from their Skype out service, so it's a prepaid and a subscription model in this case. What are the key resources for Skype? It's basically they have to pay the software developers and they have to build a software. The key activities, in this case, is software development. Key partnerships, as I just mentioned, might be, for example, distribution partners, headset partnerships. They can partner up with telecommunication partners, and they can as well partner up with payment providers. What's the cost structure? They basically have to pay for all of the software development, and they do as well have to take care of the complaint management within the Skype system. So this is example number 2. This would be the business model canvas for a hardware/tech provider, in this case Skype. Now, if we just go back to our agenda slide, this is what we have achieved until now. We spoke about the concept, what is exactly a business plan. We walked together through the 9 building blocks of a business model canvas, and we took a look at the process of actually creating your business model canvas for 2 examples. Now, before I leave you, just have one more question. It's basically, what's your business model? Go out there, print out the business model canvas template that I have provided in the link below this video, and take a look at what exactly the business model is and how you can create your own. If you do have a question concerning anything that I have mentioned in this video, or you have a personal question concerning your business model canvas, let's talk. I'm offering free one-on-one mentoring sessions both in person and online. If you want to book your free mentoring session today, just go to the link milanvukas.youcanbook.me. And I like to finish all of my videos and presentations with a quote that you can just leave this video and think about. And the quote for today is from Tim O'Neill. And he says that you cannot business model your way out of a shitty product. That's it. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope that you have now a better knowledge about what exactly the business model canvas is and why it is so a useful and handy tool to exactly find the right business model for your idea and for your startup. Well, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more free advice for early stage entrepreneurs. If you have any kind of questions, please feel free to book your one-on-one mentoring session. And thank you again for watching.